Hi, so I wanted to give you an example of a really great trade from Wednesday the 6th of August. Now this is a trend jumper setup in a market that's not always wonderful, but it can be absolutely fantastic as well if you catch it right. This is the Bund futures, and we can see the trade plan is on the left hand side, 233 tick chart, and I've got a daily chart, 840 minute, constructed of minutes for accuracy. We can see that the Bund has gone higher and higher and higher of late, and we've gone into a range more recently, and we've been sitting in it for approximately 14 days. And originally, in fact, it went into a minor range and it extended. So at this point we have an 8-day range, and the original high there was 148.49, and the low was 147.78, and I've highlighted those in a dotted blue line on the chart to the left. And what we then did was we tried to break out and then fell back in, but we tested lower and extended to the low end of the range as well, and came back in, and we came back into balance, and we pulled back and we actually rejected the lower end of balance on the Tuesday again, which I'll show you just in a moment on a 15-minute chart. So here you can see on the 5th of August there was a pretty big move lower and a very quick reversal, and that was coming into the to the low end of the range, not the actual low, but the low end of the range, towards where the original range low was at 78. Actually expanded this on the chart as well, on the trade plan chart with the cyan lines. That's where the full balance range lies between. So we can see that pretty much we got down towards that original range low, towards the low of the range anyway, and rejected quite quickly, came back up very fast. So we found a lot of buyers, and that really says something about the intent of the market as it's trending up already. So there are a number of reasons to expect potentially at least another test high of the high end of the range of the balance. First of all is that we've been in a very strong uptrend in this market. Secondly, we're on all-time highs, but we're getting towards that very important psychological magnet of 150. We've also, although extended higher and failed, we've extended lower and failed, pushed back up and rejected higher lows. So we've made a higher low and shown that there are strong buyers at the bottom end of that range. There's a lot of energy built up in a 14-day balance, so a break is likely to precipitate a strong move in one direction or the other. And there are also deteriorating conditions between the relationship that we have in the West and with Russia, and how they've been dealing with Ukraine, and the possibility of some kind of invasion. Bonds, traditionally they are safe haven, seen as a safe haven, and go bid on this kind of information. So from a technical and fundamental point of view, from a news point of view. There are many reasons to suggest that this market will go higher. So if we then have a look at the actual trade here, you can see that initially it was quite sideways, but on further inspection there's a critical piece of information here as well. So we had tested this. This wasn't the high of the day. The high of the day was 48. There it was, actually 48. We can just scroll back and double check that. Yep, so it was just one tick below the original range high on that dotted line for that prior day that rejected the bottom end of the range. What we then did is this swing high into the close of Eurex. We initially tested it and we took it out by just a tick, so no initial impetus to take it higher. But then we also came back to the low and tried fairly hard to get through that. You can see that there's quite a decent move down. However, the new low was made by just one tick as well. The new low of the day is the most recent information, with the fact that we already are leaning towards the long side, actually suggests that a failure to extend by more than a tick lower could portend to a move higher. And what we'll see is quite quickly a strong setup to go long. Now, initially you might be thinking, well, look, one of the things that I say as well is that if you're in a sideways range, then you've got to consider what's happening quite carefully in order to take that trade, especially in a product like the Bund. But if there are reasons why you can still take that trade, then it may be worthwhile doing so anyway. So in this case there were quite a few compelling reasons to do so. Now the one thing is, you couldn't unfortunately get the money management ahead of the current high of the day at 35. It was just up at 38. However, with all the indications that there was going to be a test high, it was worth taking the chance. Now, it's not to say it would work out every single time. It may stop out, and then you may need to wait for an actual break. But in this case, personally, it was worth. I felt that it was worthwhile taking that shot. So just a recap before we go on to see what actually did happen. So there were clear technical reasons for a move higher: the 150 psychological magnet, the rejections of the lows, the build-up of energy in the 14-day balance. There was the market's concern over Russia and Ukraine. Obviously Gaza's going on, but I think Russia's more of a issue at the moment. The break higher had still got quite a potential for a decent move, and in actual fact we could even get, in this particular trade, we could get our money management, although not below the high of the day currently, but we could get the money management and target 2 below the original range high, which came in here, and well below the full range high. Now that gives you a lot of room for the trade to play out without having to change phase. So without it having to go from balance to a trend type activity and break out of that balance, you can get your full target and make some money on that. But if then it does break out, obviously there's potential to trail it quite a long way. So we also had that failed push lower, and let's see what now happens. So it triggers in just after 9:30 UK time at 148.31. The money management level comes in at 148.38. Target 2 is 148.41. And we can see that very quickly it gets to full target and we get 10 ticks on that. Now it's just a question of how far the trailer manages to go. And at this point there is another small setup after the high of the day. Now this is after the prior high of the day. Now this is into the that previous range high at 148.49. It's very small. I feel that maybe it was a bit of a risk, although there was this small consolidation after the initial move. So there's a possibility that you might have got in here. And again, a break here at 148.54. There's a opportunity to go long as well. Either if you missed it, or if your plan requires add-ons, which some people do, intraday even. Some people don't. I'm not using that personally, but and what we can see is we trailed all the way up to 61. Now that's below the full range high, but from taking it from 148.31 to 61 plus the original 10 ticks, that's 40 ticks total per 2-position contract. So per position it's 20 ticks, and for the Bund that is a very decent amount. It's a market which has considerable liquidity. You can trade many more contracts if you wish. I'm not saying every single trade is going to be like this, of course it's not, but with the knowledge of what's going on in the market, with doing a little bit of preparation, it's fairly straightforward to at least identify potential opportunities where these kinds of things can happen if you rehearse it a bit and you get a little bit practiced. So what actually happened afterwards is, unfortunately, we were stopped out a little bit early on this one. Had you been running a further position, you may have had a looser stop, trailing stop. This market did actually continue quite a bit higher, and actually subsequently on Thursday we also went much higher as well. So I hope that illustrates a good way of using Trend Jumper with context in the market, and gives you a better idea of how to leverage the power of Trend Jumper with the ability to read what's going on in the market. Thanks for watching.